Welcome back to Showtime College Football. I'm your host, Chase Davidson, back for another episode with my co-host, Chase Sned. Week 9 is past us. The Big 12 is officially upside down, and we're going to be going over our preseason picks, the good and the not so good, seeing how they've panned out. We've got a whole bunch for you. We've been talking about it for several episodes now. We are going to get to our preseason picks and how they actually look now. Some are a little embarrassing. We're going to own up to them, but some are actually not so bad. And I'm excited to see what y'all think of those. And some of you may have already forgot what we had pre-season. So maybe we do know ball, maybe we don't. But week 9 was kind of interesting. A lot of teams were on upset watch, as we clearly stated last podcast. But it ended up being there were hardly any underdogs who won, except for a huge upset in Orlando. BYU upsetting UCF was insane. But other than that, no real upsets this week. And many of you got my satire there. BYU was the 2.5-point underdog, which was frankly hilarious. But let's get into it. Chase, what was your favorite game of the week 9?
I mean, as a Duck fan, obviously the Oregon game. We really took it to Indiana. Anyone watching that game knows Illinois, 38-9 dub, 35-3 at half. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, you didn't look good in the second half." If you watch the game, you'll know we kind of just were draining the clock.
Easy. Yeah.
4 drives, 2 of them we had our backups in. We had a goal line stand in the second half, so not too sad with how it turned out. I wish we scored more, which is kind of a sad thing to be sad about, I guess, or upset about. But like we posted on our Instagram earlier, we were dominant on both sides of the ball. And each week, in and out each week, Oregon's just getting better. We're firing on all cylinders. But we can't look too far ahead. At Michigan is a tough game this week to where got to focus on that.
Yeah. And Oregon that was one of the games I decided not to include on the upset watch just because, I just did not see, even though it was a ranked game, and it could have any other game I could have put that on upset watch, any other week, any other teams, but I kind of decided not to. I was like, there's just no way this is even, I don't even feel like putting this on upset watch. I don't feel like it's even going to be close. Our upset watch actually didn't end up being too bad. Most of the games were very close. Penn State barely pulled it out against Wisconsin. Ohio State barely pulled it out against Nebraska. Texas escaped Vanderbilt. Before we get into it, I wanted to read you guys our week 9 reactions that I posted on the Instagram because I thought we did a pretty good job. I'd love to hear some of your other guys' reactions that you guys had from the week. But here's what we had. We had the G5 college football playoff spot is Boise State's to lose, meaning that pretty much it's in Boise State's hands. I think even an undefeated Army winning the American, I don't know if they outrank a Boise State 12-1 Mountain West champion. So I really think it's in Boise State's hands. Now, if they lose one game, Army could be ranked 15 and slip up above Boise State. But
especially if Army beats Notre Dame, I think that might put them above Boise State if Army were to go undefeated.
I forget they still play, and that's insane. And not to be forgotten, Navy is still undefeated in conference play. So, they could still pull it off. But the problem is if Navy wins that bid or wins the American, they might not have the bid as they're not going to be highly ranked. They might slip back into the top 25 week 13, but they're not going to be higher ranked than Washington State or Boise State. Chase, I did want to ask you, do you know about the rules with Washington State? Because they're in legitimate talks now. They are 7-1. We've been ranking them for several weeks. All due respect to Wazoo, their only losses to Boise State didn't look good, but you know what? They've done well in the other 7 games. They can't really win the Pac-12. They can, but how does their bid work? Do you know if they count for a G5 bid?
I don't even know if they're considered a conference.
Because I know that all offseason we were talking about, you have to have 8 teams to be a conference. So the Pac-12, trying to get all these Mountain West teams is trying to have 8 teams.
So I guess maybe they have to be in the top 11 or whatever.
Just at large.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know, actually.
And I don't think they would. I think if they ran the table and went 11-1, I don't know if they'd be top 11. They'd be close, but I don't know if they would. They just haven't beaten anybody yet. Texas Tech is their best win. They did beat them pretty good, but they got trounced by Boise State. So it's kind of hard to. Hey, that does mean Boise State now, as of this week, finally has their official ranked win over a currently ranked team in Washington State. So good for Boise. But yeah, anyways, if you can't find anything on that, Chase,
I'm looking right now, so you're
yeah.
good to jump into our reactions.
But our next reaction is Texas A&M might be for real. Yes, just a few weeks ago, probably 4 weeks ago, our reactions was, why is this team ranked? Talking about the Aggies, and they've proved me wrong. They have proved us wrong. I thought they were overrated, kind of like usual, but this Mike Elko team is different. They have, to my defense, they are a different team than they were 5 weeks ago. They are a different team. They did go in and beat Florida, during that time, but I still was just not buying it. They barely beat Bowling Green at home. They weren't looking like that good to me. Even a lopsided win against Mizzou, I was like, yeah, I mean, okay, top 25, yes, but like I still am like 19, 18. And then this win this week, LSU has also been better than expected, I think. And so I think Texas A&M does deserve to be top 15. And I think that now that they're 5-0 in the SEC, just that alone, I don't care how bad they are. I mean, it's concerning
Yeah.
it's concerning for a Texas or Georgia.
Well, yeah.
So
Jumping to the rest of Texas A&M's schedule, they play at South Carolina this week, which isn't a game to just shy away. South Carolina is a very good team.
They are in our top 30.
Best 4-3 team in the country.
Yeah.
Then New Mexico State at home, and then Auburn on the road, which they should win. So they should be going into Texas, which will be a for sure top 10, maybe even like top 8 matchup at that point.
Are they playing at South Carolina or at home?
At South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. That's a good upset watch game. That'll be on upset watch for sure. But yeah, you said it right. They should, how they're playing right now, they should be playing Texas at 11-1 or 10-1. So that'll be a very exciting game. That is actually an accurate prediction that I had. I did think Texas A&M was going to be better this year, and I predicted that game was going to be both teams at 10 wins heading into College Station.
I remember I called you crazy for it, but
yeah. Obviously, the Texas one's not crazy. That was like just easy to say. And I actually picked Texas A&M winning preseason. So I don't know if I'm going to hold to that. I might. I was not feeling that way, but now I am. I might stick with my pick. We'll see.
Well, it would be I'm not an A&M fan at all. Growing up in Texas, we were more Longhorns than A&M. But let's say Georgia wins out, and then Texas goes, and then they beat A&M. So all three of them have one conference loss. A&M would be knocked out, I believe, because Georgia would be above Texas, but then Texas would be above A&M because of head-to-head. So that would be a very sad way for A&M to end the season. That'd be very tough.
I mean, there's a pretty good chance that the SEC championship comes down to that game. I mean, as of right now, if they played right now, it would come down to that game. It'd be huge. The winner of that game would play Georgia.
And that's
as of right now.
Probably how Iowa State, Kansas State will be for the Big 12.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about that game more and more as that kind of brings us to it's not one of our reactions for this week, but I wanted to talk about our preseason prediction of the Big 12. And that is that Oklahoma State and Utah would play in the title. And we'll go over our top 16, our power rankings for the Big 12 preseason. But that is just crazy to think that the marquee game was not played in Stillwater, Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State, Utah. It is probably going to be played the last game of the season, Iowa State, Kansas State. As of right now, they are playing for a spot in the Big 12 championship. BYU has the head-to-head over K-State, so K-State has to win that game in order to be in if they win out. They escaped this week against Kansas. Crazy rivalry game. Speaking about our games overall this week, our upset games, there were a ton of close games. So it was a great week of college football, but all favorites pulled out. But there were so many scares. SMU almost lost to Duke. Really almost should have lost. We don't say that here, but they got lucky. Texas pulled out barely. K-State. And there was a few others that had really close games. Ohio State, we talked about Penn State. And so, I mean, it was K-State almost lost a lot there. But the thing is, K-State, they don't have the benefit of the doubt as if BYU's in the consideration. That's a huge consideration or a huge head-to-head disadvantage as they have already lost to BYU. If BYU loses a game in their next 4 games, they're going to be losing to a team that's not in competition for head-to-head, most likely.
Yeah.
The advantage to being BYU right now, let's say you lose one of your last 4 games, even 2 games, you're losing to Utah or Kansas, you're not going to lose a head-to-head to get into the championship for that.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I do think we should let's talk about our Big 12 preseason poll. Now, we all thought this. Like literally everybody in the country did think this. So we were not alone. I don't know. I'm almost ashamed, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But we had Oklahoma State number 1. Or no, we had Utah number 1, right? We had Utah number 1 and Oklahoma State number 2, followed by Arizona. Just those top 3. Those 3 combined are 3 and 9?
It's just not good. That's what it is.
3 and 9. I mean,
not good.
Utah and Oklahoma State are combined 1 and
Yeah.
6 in conference play. Or no, they're combined 1 and 9. What am I thinking? They're combined 1 and 9 in conference play. Combined with Arizona, and it is 2 and 12, I believe.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is just not good.
Well, and then just continuing down the list here, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia over Iowa State at 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kansas State, Iowa State at 4 and 7, not bad. Kansas State's right there. Iowa State definitely should be higher. But gosh, Kansas and West Virginia, man, that is just
Kansas is the real. I feel like, well, it's hard to stay a stunner. I mean, because Utah and Oklahoma State are also stunners. I mean, but Kansas is just it. Utah and Oklahoma State are doing it. I don't know where it's for all these teams. It's crazy. It's not even they're just like, oh, they're kind of mid. They're underperforming. They are bad. All 3 of these teams, Utah, Oklahoma State, at least Arizona's been okay. Like Kansas is bad.
Yeah.
Same with Utah and Oklahoma State. It is just pitiful what they've done in conference play.
Colorado at 12, Arizona State at 15. I believe both of them are in the top 6 or 7 for Big 12 right now, which
pretty much take our list and flip it upside down.
And BYU at 11.
Somewhat down there. But yeah, we had BYU at 11.
The only ones we got somewhat right are UCF, Texas Tech, TCU right there in the middle.
Yeah, those are right.
Baylor and Houston at the bottom. Cincinnati's up more.
Cincinnati's sitting at they're 3 and 2 in conference, not doing too bad. Arizona State is, I believe, 3 and 1 in conference. I could be wrong about that. I can't remember exactly what they're at. They are 2 and 2 in conference. Excuse me, 2 and 2. So
basically, what we're saying is we were just completely wrong.
Yeah, we were wrong on so many levels, and I mean, most of the country was. So
yeah,
to our credit, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much upside down it is. In case you don't know, the current standings are BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, Colorado, and then it's a 5-way tie for that 5th spot with TCU, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, West Virginia. So very, very interesting. But the top 4, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, Colorado. Yeah, I mean, Colorado, I think, does need to be talked about legitimately.
I was about to say that. I was legit about to say that.
They are ranked this week. They're back. They're ranked. They are bowl eligible, and they are 6 and 2, sitting here 8 games into the season. Now, this is one of our predictions that was actually somewhat on the money. We did not have them crazy high, but I had them in a couple preseason polls in February and March, and there are so many people saying, wow, that was the stupidest thing. That's just clickbait. Hey, I mean, it wasn't crazy. I was putting them right where they're at right now. I was putting them at 25. That's where they're at pretty much. So I feel pretty cool about that. 6 and 2. We'll see if they can hang on and maybe compete for a spot. They only got 1 loss in conference. So, I mean, they're the same as K-State. They could do it. They did lose to K-State.
Yeah.
But, hey, crazy things have happened. Only 1 loss. There's still a lot of games to be played. There's still half the conference games to be played. So, pretty exciting about that. But let's keep on going with our Week 9 reactions. We did a Big 12 detour right there. Why on earth is Mizzou ranked? Chase, why don't you tell me why Mizzou is still ranked?
Well,
give me an explanation.
I'm asking the same thing about Illinois.
Yep.
I mean, I commented something saying Illinois. it was on Cody. He's been on our channel, Smash Hit Sports. He was
Cody.
reacting to the AP top 25, and he's like, I have no idea why Illinois or Missouri are ranked. And I agreed with him. And someone, I don't remember username, I'm not going to call him out, but he was like, well, we've lost to the number 1 and number 3 team, Penn State and Oregon. Okay, you got absolutely killed by Oregon. You got
good job. You had him on your schedule. Nice work.
and Penn State, yeah, it was pretty close, but you guys scored 7 points. You also let Purdue score 49 and needed overtime, and Purdue to go for 2 to beat them.
Yeah.
To where, and then Missouri, don't even get me started. You got blasted by the 2 good teams on your schedule, Texas A&M and Bama.
Yep. Along with that is a overtime win against Vandy is pretty much their best win on the schedule still. Barely won against Auburn. We talked about him last week.
Vandy is good. We were saying Texas escaped. Don't get me wrong. I think Vandy's a good football team. Going on the road to 25th ranked Vandy, who has all the momentum, all of the nation on their side. Obviously, I think Texas should have won by more, but still, Vandy's a good team. Part of me still thinks they should be right there, maybe even 25 instead of Missouri or Illinois. But yeah.
I mean, it's interesting what's going on in the SEC, but Missouri is a team that they're basically ranked for the conference name. I mean, now granted, as we were making our top 30 this week, we both had the same thoughts as basically, I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you know who's floating in the receiving votes area, if you know who's around there right now or who was last week, the ranks of 22 to 35, if you were to put them into ranks, basically all of them lost.
Yeah.
Of those 13 teams, 12 of them lost. All the teams that were just fringe top 25 all lost, except for the ones that jumped in, like Wazoo, Colorado. Everybody lost. We're talking about Duke. We're talking about, who else? UNLV. It was sad how many people lost.
Yeah.
It was insane. And so, it was we're scrambling. I can kind of see why Mizzou and Illinois are still ranked in that perspective. It's absurd. It should be a cutoff at 23 at that point because they don't deserve to have a ranking title.
Well, and part of me, I think you should put Memphis and Tulane in there. They're both 1 loss. They're right there. I think they're both really good.
I do want to read who was receiving votes because I sent a screenshot to Chase mid-Saturday, and I showed. So from 24 to the last person receiving votes, here's who won and lost. Well, here's who lost. 20. So I'm going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams from 24 all through the receiving votes. Navy lost. Vanderbilt lost. Syracuse lost. UNLV lost. Duke lost. South Carolina had a bye. They survived. Liberty lost. Nebraska lost. So of those teams, South Carolina and Washington State are the only 2 that didn't lose of those actually 10 teams. And so that's why they're ranked. Well, South Carolina had a bye, but they stayed out. But it kind of just no one really filled in those spots very well. So that's why Illinois and I think they know it too, that they really don't deserve to be ranked, Illinois and Mizzou. But I think it's just circumstance. I hate it.
It's
how it works.
I guess they have a better win than these other teams on the fringe, which, by the way, me and Chase have nailed 2 weeks in a row now, or 20 through 30 is the same as AP and other receiving votes. So shout out to Showtime. But yeah, I don't know why they're still ranked.
Hey, but a team that we pushed in this week into our top 30 before the AP was Louisiana Lafayette, and they got a couple votes as well. Yeah, they got a couple votes. We pushed them in there. They are 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
So Sun Belt team making an appearance. Also, Tulane's kind of pushing back a little bit, and there's a few G5 teams that are pushing up. We'll see if they can survive. But yeah. Anyways, let's move on with our takes. Oregon. We already talked about Oregon, so we'll go fast on this one. But Oregon is looking lethal on not just offense but defense. The defense looked very stout, very secure. They held Illinois to basically no points. Illinois got a garbage time touchdown, I think, or is it 2 field goals?
It was a garbage time, and they went for 2, and they didn't get it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so, that's what happened there. Let's go on to their next one, though. Ohio State needs to clean up on offense as they play Penn State next week. We're going to preview this game, obviously, but we saw an interesting Ohio State offense. They played at home against Nebraska, who just got blasted by Indiana, by the way. They beat them by 4 on
Yeah.
a go-ahead touchdown with less than 5 minutes left.
Well, and it's interesting because they came off a bye week, Ohio State, and the week before, we all know, probably the game of the year, Oregon, Ohio State. Both teams, electric plays, huge plays, offenses look great. Everyone's like, yeah, Jeremiah Smith had some great catches against Oregon, and everything's like, dang, like they're Ohio State, yeah, they still deserve to be top 4 at this point. But yeah, this last week, I remember I was watching it at the gym because I woke up late. I was watching it at the gym. I was like, what is going on? Like, I left at halftime and it was like 14-7. I was like, what is wrong with Ohio State? They just I don't know, maybe Nebraska finally figured out how to play defense over the week after letting Indiana score 50 on them. But yeah,
it was weird. I mean, it didn't feel like the Nebraska offense. They did get down the field a few times, but I didn't lose too much hope in Ohio State's defense. Just on the eye test, like it didn't seem like
no, Ohio State's defense.
They had a few short fields due to the offense. It was the offense that
really
concerned me. They were
consistently getting pressure on Raiola.
Yeah,
it was just the offense. Yeah, I think it's a lot has to do with Will Howard personally.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Nebraska, the thing is about that is that Nebraska's defense has been the weak point, and the fact that Ohio State at home put up 21, and it's not week 2, it's week 9.
Yeah, and I mean,
and you had a bye week too.
Maybe the bye week they're shaking off some rust from the bye week. They kind of got complacent.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I feel like it's the opposite this late in the season. I feel like
weird. I don't know. I don't know what was up.
Sort of. Hey, a win is a win. It's college football. You move on. You win. They got a test next week, as we all know. Shout out to College Football U and all CFB and Elite College Football. Everyone's making this publicized. I'm glad because no one last year did this. My point is this. If any of you guys listened last year, I have beef with Fox for one reason. I like Fox overall, but Big Noon Kickoff tends to like to have the big games at noon for kickoff, which some people like, but I think 80% of college football fans know that Penn State's whiteout should be the biggest game of the year for them. And it's not because Fox wants the game at noon.
Mm-hmm.
And, Penn State's pretty much at their discretion. They can't really choose. The media company's really what chooses when the game's at. And so we're going to have Ohio State, Penn State in the afternoon, a thriller in the afternoon. And it's just not good. We all know that at night.
Well, I guess so for some in the afternoon, but for anyone on the West Coast, it's going to be
morning,
noon or morning. Like
I'll be eating my breakfast at kickoff.
Homies in California or West Coast, we'll be watching at 11.
Yeah.
And it's not even Penn State's whiteout game. That's next week.
That's what I'm saying.
It should be, I don't know. Like Chase said, they make the schedules like a few weeks in advance. I don't know. I feel like big games like this, when it has the potential, it should have the TBD to be decided, like some games do, until the week before. And if it's something this,
well, they kind of usually do because they usually wait about 10 days before. But it's
like something like
the fact that it's on Fox, you already knew it was going to happen.
Something like this needs to be. It should be at least 6 o'clock here, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock there.
Yeah.
So.
And I give the shout out to the guys on Instagram because I feel like that it's bringing it to light more. I don't think a lot of people realized. I didn't actually realize for the first year or two is happening, like that's why that was happening is because Fox wants it in their noon slate, which I think it's great that they're making a noon slate like really good and putting big games. But the problem is when the biggest game is at the noon slate, it's like, wait. This means Penn State. So I commented today on College Football U. I said, the spread right now is OSU 4.5. I said, if push that game to 6 p.m. and that spread is going to even. And even several Ohio State fans were like, yeah, I mean, that's true. I'm so glad we're playing during the daytime. And anyone knows that a night environment is way harder.
It's just interesting to me. Like, Saturdays people have off, but Saturdays are also, at least for me and most people I know, morning to like mid-afternoon is kind of when you're getting stuff done, like shopping, getting like yard work, housework, doing stuff. It's like the day you get stuff done.
It's fun to watch a game like, I don't know, Indiana, Washington. It's fun to watch a game that's just like a good game, but I don't need to be like locked in.
Yeah. But then
fun to watch those day games.
You come home, like you maybe like order some pizza or you go out to like the bars or, B-dubs, whatever. And you want like the best game on, and it already happened at noon. where
Yeah,
it's
you're gonna
like,
walk in and be like, "All right, boys,
I mean, don't
let's
get me
watch
wrong.
some
We have a
football."
good game. We have Pitt SMU this week at night, which will be awesome.
That's a
But
yeah.
like, still, I'd rather have Penn State, Ohio State. I'd rather have 3 versus 4 at the 6 o'clock or I guess 8 o'clock slate for them.
Yeah, especially for us out here in the West. I mean, it's just really hard to like, hey boys, let's hang out at 10 a.m. Like it's just like no one's gonna watch the game together because
Yeah.
it's like it's the
It's
morning. Like I
it's the
gotta clean
morning.
my house. I
Yeah.
gotta go clean my bathroom, bro. I'm
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
So I
Exactly.
mean, obviously I'll be sitting down and watching this game because I have to, but I would much prefer it to be later in the day. Anyways, we'll quit yapping about that. Last week 9 reaction is that BYU deserves to be top 10. Now, I think this is more me saying this because Chase has BYU out of his top 10 in his poll.
I do.
I want to hear your reasoning for that, Chase. I mean, you let me post my reactions that
Let
BYU
me
is going to be in the top 10
pull
spot.
up
But
my Showtime rankings here.
you had them at like 12 or 13, and I do want to know your reasoning. I'm calling you out a little bit.
You are. You are calling me, and I
Yeah, I
appreciate
mean, I
that.
am. BYU jumped to 9 this week in the rankings after beating UCF. I mean, not a crazy win, but still covered the spread, killed the underdog, and that game was not close. There were some garbage time touchdowns, but I mean, it was not a close game. Chase, how are you feeling about? I mean, how you feel about the undefeateds in general? I mean, this would probably give us light to that. I mean,
Yeah,
you got
no,
Indiana,
don't get me wrong.
BYU.
BYU's a they're playoff, like they're right there on the playoff border for me. But personally, I think for me, some of Indiana's wins, the 56-7, whatever Nebraska's win was, that was like, wow, Indiana's pretty legit to me. Let me see here. Let me see who else I have above them.
I mean,
Texas.
I'm just saying, people who have Indiana but BYU. I mean, you're forgetting about a 38-9 win over K State, who is currently number 16 and
Yes.
7-1.
But K-State also just struggled against 2-6 Kansas.
Yeah, but they also just beat Colorado, who's ranked on the road. And SMU is also 6-1. I know they struggled this week too.
All right.
But...
All right. Let's move on.
All right.
Texas A&M. Texas A&M's loss to Notre Dame looks better every week. Notre Dame's win looks better every week. Notre Dame just dropped 50 on the team everyone loves right now, Navy. Everyone was cheering for Navy, and Notre Dame just was like, screw all of you. We're going to drop 50 on them. So that's why I had Notre Dame up more.
Yeah, agreed. They did look pretty flawless in that. But I feel like Notre Dame tends to look real well. Okay, I take that back because of NIU. But I feel like Notre Dame tends to look really good against bad opponents and then not show up against big ones. But I mean, they did beat Texas A&M, so
yeah. Okay. All right. And Texas A&M, they just kind of took it to LSU. LSU really couldn't do anything after that first quarter. I didn't really watch too much.
It was weird. The game turned around.
But following the score, it was like 10-0 at the end of the first or towards the end of the first.
I think LSU got up like 17-7, and they were driving down the field. They were about to go up 24-7, and they didn't.
Texas A&M just turned it on and pretty much held them to nothing after that. But I will say, let me clarify here. Honestly, Clemson, Iowa State, Texas A&M, Indiana, BYU, and Bama. That like six, like 8 to 14, you could honestly mix any way, and I really would be okay with it.
Yeah, that's true.
I really would be okay with it. I kind of just went off of how the team kind of looked this last week. It was kind of, I think Texas A&M's win looked better than BYU's,
I think you throw Boise in there too.
Yeah, and Boise. So,
Boise,
so all the BYU fans, because I know we have a lot of them listening to this. You guys can come at me. I don't care. I will fight you for it.
Yeah, I think it's honest. I mean, you gave a reasoning. I mean, I can't tell you like no.
And then, but also, I will say you did yours before mine, to where I was kind of like, okay, like I need
to try to counteract mine.
Well, it was like I need to even out where they should be.
Okay, because I knew you were going to put BYU so far back. I was like, all right, I got to push them high.
I saw that. I was like, yeah, I got to like even out the.
Bro, I knew it. I knew. I was like, there's no way
you whatever, bro.
Whatever. Yeah, we get it.
BYU
I get it.
At 7. I'm sorry, they're not the 7th best team in the country.
Dude, they are, bro. They literally are.
Oh
dude, we didn't lose to Arkansas at NIU. I'm sorry. Who's Iowa State?
Notre Dame went to Kyle Field and won. Kyle Field, they beat.
That's true.
They beat Texas A&M,
but they also went home to a match team
in Texas A&M.
Bro, NIU outrushed them by like 200 yards.
I don't care.
NIU is like 3-3.
I don't care.
Get the MAC.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I think Notre Dame would win if we were to play right now.
No, that's a bad metric. That's a bad metric. You can't use that metric.
What metric?
You can't use that they would beat each other on a neutral field. That doesn't work in college football. That metric is.
I think Notre Dame would win. I think Notre Dame would come here.
You can say that. You can say that, but that's a flawed metric with rankings because, like, Bama versus Boise State. Like, I think Bama could beat Boise State any day on a neutral field. But at the same time, like, do they deserve to be above Boise State? I don't know. Maybe.
Okay,
maybe not.
How's that a flawed metric though? If you were to put them head to head and you think one team would beat them,
it's a flawed metric because in college football you can't say that because okay, let's still rank Bama number 1 because on a neutral field they would beat Vandy, right?
Probably, I don't know.
They didn't. They had a home field advantage against Vandy and they still didn't win. So you can't say that in college football because
whatever.
On a neutral field, Notre Dame would beat NIU any day. Oh, wait, they had them at home and they still lost.
It's my rankings. You have
you can say that. I'm not even arguing the rankings. I'm just arguing the
BYU's number 9 in the country. Be happy, bro. Oh my gosh, this is my.
It's not even about BYU now, bro.
This is my problem with BYU fans. You guys are never satisfied. You guys were projected 4.5 wins, and you're mad that I put them at 13. You're number 9.
Oh, you're flashing your hands like the Joker.
You have playoff potential. Just be happy. Just be happy. True. You're number 9. You're number 10 in our rankings. Is that enough?
Yeah, it's enough. It's enough. I was okay with number 10. I was okay with that.
Goodness gracious.
I was okay with that. Hey, but I will say, we'll end this conversation for those of you who are bored to death. But I will say, if you ever find yourself, I mean, I don't know if you hold the same opinion, Chase. If you ever find yourself using the metric, just use it wisely with a grain of salt. This team would beat this team on a neutral field because it's not the NFL. It's college football.
It's not the highest metric for me.
Yeah. I think you can use it as like a last ditch. If you can't decide between two teams, you can use it.
Most of the time, for me, it's a lot of time it's how this team resume is a big thing. Yes, don't get me wrong. BYU has a great resume.
But you're more power. I think you're more power rankings forward. You're more of like a momentum kind of guy.
I am how the team is playing right now.
Yeah, I mean I think that's just different schools of thought. Yeah, I mean I tend to be it just depends honestly, but I tend to be more resume, less power ranking. I mean it's like 60-40 though. Yeah. I just tend to rank resume a little higher.
That's why I have teams above BYU this week because they had the same kind of win, but it was against a better opponent, in my opinion, than UCF. UCF,
yeah, that's fine. I get
starting quarterback. I don't know. That's just me personally.
I get that. No, I do understand that because I feel like there are
BYU fans. Don't worry. I think you guys are a playoff potential team. Okay?
Hey, it's okay. You don't need to apologize to BYU fans. It's okay. Okay, we get it. We get it. You've explained well. You know what? But no, I do think just use that metric wisely. I've just seen a lot of people in comment sections today, saying like, dude, there's no way. Like, there's no freaking way that because I think we have Boise State above Alabama. I think we do.
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean, it's like there's no way Alabama would be Boise State on neutral field. It's like, well, they were supposed to be Vandy on neutral field and they didn't. So
no,
you can't say that.
Bama is one above Boise State.
Oh, okay. It was some other. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, I hate that metric. It bugs the crap out of me because it's like, bro, you can't use that. It's like I saw someone saying Ohio State would be Oregon on neutral field. It's like, okay, guess we'll see. Like you can't say that. Talent doesn't mean anything until rubber hits the road. So, anyways, that was a great discussion, man. Great discussion.
That was heated. We got heated.
Let's get even more heated, and let's talk about our sleeper picks preseason. Let's go back to our preseason. We've been wanting to talk about this. We've made multiple remarks to this. There's actually a few on here that they have kind of come back, and they're not that bad of picks. But let's get into it. Who was our number 1 team as a preseason playoff sleeper, Chase?
As a Virginia Tech.
Yeah. It was Virginia Tech. Now, that's still – no, I was going to say that one is still a yellow. Yet to be determined.
They can win the ACC still.
They only have, I think, one loss.
One conference loss.
They lost to Rutgers and Vandy, and then they've lost to. So those are out of conference. They're 5-3, and they have only one loss in conference. So yeah, I mean they could do it. This is looking exactly like last season, except they're a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happened last season. They had a horrible non-conference, and then they ended up doing really well in conference.
I have faith, and hey. Every week, I'm going to remind people I had SMU as an ACC dark horse, and they are undefeated in the ACC right now. Just saying. Just put that out there.
Yeah. I mean, agreed. But yeah, number 1, we have Virginia Tech. That one's on hold. You can't can't hate us for that yet because it's still they're not eliminated. They are not out of the conversation now. They're not as good as we thought they'd be, but they could still go 9-3 if they beat Clemson at home.
They received other receiving votes in the coaches poll. They're right there. They're making their way.
We had them, I think, at like 29 or something because I don't even know who else to pick at this point. Okay, so going down my side, I had Nebraska at 2, who I still had some hope for as of last week and then this week, and now it's kind of, dang it, it's gone down. So Nebraska, I believe, they're eliminated now. They were looking real high and pretty for a while there, but they're not going to do it. They are better than expected. There was some hype there that we identified correctly. They will probably make a bowl game. I believe they're 5-3 now, or 5-2, 5-3. They're 5-3. So they got a chance. They could still make a bowl game, do good, but they're not making the playoff. They cannot win the Big Ten pretty much at this point. Wisconsin, who I had as well. Again, I had hope if they maybe beat Penn State, there was maybe a chance, as they only had one conference loss. They could do it. Talked about it last week, and this one's kind of in the gutter now. They are now 5-3 as well, and just barely. It's just they're out of the conversation. I think they actually did have almost more of a chance than Nebraska at one point. Like maybe they almost beat Penn State. They kept them, but couldn't do it. Number 4, I had Boise State. Now this one, I actually take it back now because when I said it's a playoff sleeper, this wasn't really a sleeper. At the time, Boise was one of 3 teams people were saying. They were saying Liberty, Boise, Memphis. Chase's G5 on this one was Memphis, which, they could still do it. Chances are much lower. They could still do it. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Number 5, I had Kansas. This is the worst one I had on there overall. We're going over Chase's list real quick, but Kansas is just horrible. They are.
I have my list right here. I found it. All right.
So Chase, go over your list. Talk about how you feel.
Virginia Tech 1. We already went over that. Memphis 2. Part of me put Memphis in here instead of Boise because I thought Boise was kind of already the favorite, in my opinion, for
the sleeper pick
group of 5. So it really wasn't a sleeper. It was kind of.
And that's how I felt about my pick about Boise. I'm not that proud of it because I was like, I don't know. Now I think about it, it wasn't like a crazy sleeper.
Yeah.
Unless they make it at large, then I was talking about that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
All right. And so Memphis, I think Memphis definitely has a chance. If they win out, an Army, Navy, maybe they choke somewhere.
Boise State has to lose.
Oh, wow. What a pick here. NC State. Wow.
This one's probably your worst one yet.
Wow.
This one's bad.
Wow. That is atrocious. I don't even have words for that one. They looked pretty good last year. A lot of returning talent. And
there was a lot of hype for NC State coming into the year.
I think a lot of people.
I got scrutinized heavily by not having them ranked in a couple of the preseason polls. And I actually succumbed to the pressure. I put them in. I was like, all right, you know what? Fine. I'll throw them in 25. People were still mad.
I think there's probably a segment of me somewhere talking about how much returning talent they have. Obviously doesn't matter. Number 4, Arizona. I think a lot of people thought high on Arizona. That's where I'm not too ashamed of that. I'm not alone there.
Yeah. Arizona has disappointed. They beat Utah, and it was like, all right, maybe they got a chance to stay afloat here, and then they, boom, lost 4 in a row in conference. They are 1-4 in conference all of a sudden.
Yeah, and then 5, Wisconsin. Don't get me wrong, I'm still scared for Oregon to play Wisconsin here in a few weeks at Wisconsin, but like Chase said, it's just not going to happen.
I didn't realize you guys Wisconsin too. Yeah, you're with me on that one.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough list to see. As we were pretty off. I thought at least we'd have a couple ringers. Our G5 picks, the ones that are still hanging around. As of last week, Virginia Tech. Maybe. It would. I don't know. If Virginia Tech did it, they'd be in like the 15 to 20s. They wouldn't be very high.
We'd be absolute.
Yeah, we'd be going bonkers.
We'd be so goated for that.
The problem is in the ACC, so they're sitting at 5th place with 1 loss.
Here's another ACC funny moment here.
Okay.
We had Pitt as 14 in our power rankings, ACC rankings to start. FSU 1, NC State 5. Wow, this is just
obviously FSU is one of our plunders of the year. FSU just, you guys all know you can't really blame it. Yeah, that's just. All of college football was wrong on that. We did detect signs. We didn't put them top 10 very often. I think I had them at 11 to 14. I was cautious, but still, I had them nearly top 10. So
Preseason 9. We had them at 9.
9 preseason. Dang, yeah, they're floating around that range.
This top 10 preseasons, this top 15 is crazy.
Well, it's the Big 12 teams that kill. It's the Oklahoma State, Utah, and Arizona that kill.
Well,
And Kansas.
And you have Missouri at 6, Ole Miss at 5, FSU 9, Arizona 10, Oklahoma State 11, Utah 12, Michigan 13. Wow, that is just.
Hey, wait. One of my ones I wanted to say that I get my credit on is Michigan. I was right about Michigan. Now, Chase just said 13. We had a poll that was collective. I think you had them a little higher. I kind of put them a little higher towards the start of the season. I had them like 18 or 19. All of the preseason, I had them above 20. Like, wait, no, they were in the 20s. And I went today. I was bored today. It was a Sunday. I went through about 40 comments on one post talking about how I didn't have Michigan in my playoff considerations post. This was in like March. And I stood on business. Even back in March, I was like, I don't think they're making the playoff. I think they're going to be. I made this take on the podcast. Mark my words. I made this take. This is the one I was hyped about today that I wanted to let you guys know that I do know some ball. I said midway through the season, Michigan will be unranked. That was my take. And I feel I can hang my hat on that this season that I said the Michigan Wolverines will be unranked midseason.
Dang.
Yep. That's my speed.
Shout out Chase for that, man. That's respect.
Yeah. I mean, I did have them. I did start to float a little bit more. I think the first poll, I probably had them at 19, 18. That was just kind of give them credit. It was hard to unrank them. Same as Washington. I wasn't as alone on the Washington pick, but I had Washington 28, 29. I mean, I had them pretty low. Most of the preseason just floating because we did several polls of the preseason. You already know, probably 5 or 6. I had them floating pretty low, and of course that one was correct. I'm not quite as high on that one though as I wasn't that alone. A lot of people could have seen that, but still, I mean, people were mad about it. So also Alabama, we were pretty right about. I don't know where we had them on our first preseason pick, but my polls, I usually had them about 10 to 15. I didn't have them top 10 in many of mine.
They were 7.
They were 7. I don't think in many of mine I had them above 10. So I mean they're sitting at 14 right now. That's fairly accurate.
Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon 1, 2, 3. We've nailed that.
Ole Miss is the one that's really stuck. Ole Miss and Missouri, the ones that have just not done too well. Ole Miss still has a chance to make things happen. They got to win out. You guys know the memes. They got to win out. Anakin Skywalker or Jackson Dart been talking about they got to win out, and they could do it. They could do it. I mean, it's not their conference losses really suck. Their only losses are in conference, which is just tough. But they could, because they're SEC, they got a lot of talent. They can make it out large. If they're 10-2, they could make it out large. So they don't even need the SEC championship to get in. So it's not super concerning. Their loss to Kentucky just looks worse every week, though. Kentucky has not looked good since then. So
pretty bad.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, Alabama was one of the ones I really hang my hat on. But are there any other games we want to talk about from Week 9 that I think that have playoff implications, Chase? Oh, I did want to mention this one really quick before we start. Well, we already mostly did the podcast. Before we start on these games really quick, Pittsburgh did surprise me this week. They throttled Syracuse, and I thought for sure that was the upset was going to happen. That was the highest on the watch for the upset. Watch was Pittsburgh Syracuse, and Syracuse 41-13 with those 13 points from Syracuse in garbage time. Now they did have 3 pick sixes in the first half.
Yeah, no, I remember. I commented
they won
on the post we had, and I was like, Thursday night football, Syracuse Pitt is going to go crazy. And within a quarter, people were responding to me, saying like, yeah, nice prediction, bro. That's just part of the fun of Showtime. I love when you guys call me out like I can read the future. It makes me laugh because I'm like, dang, yeah, my bad for
dude. Chase's comments back to people. I mean, you guys don't know who's commenting at the time, but it's just like, nice job, bud. We were incorrect.
It's just like, oh no, our preseason predictions were wrong. Just like every analyst on ESPN. Holy smokes, I can't read the future.
Hey, I would say on average we're more correct than most of the analysts for major media companies.
That's true.
Like we were like 60%. Most of them were like 50, 40. I'd say on average we're better than most. And this season has been turbulent.
Besides the Big 12, I feel like we've done actually a pretty decent job.
Hey, and even Iowa State was in one of my top tiers for the conference early on.
We were both
in May.
We were both right about Iowa State.
We were both liking Iowa State, all the returning production. And I mean, I had him going. I made a schedule prediction for Iowa State, and I had him starting 7-0.
Dang,
that was in February. You can go back and look at that. Yeah, I did.
That?
So I mean,
besides
that's another one that I'm very happy about.
And FSU winning the ACC, I feel like we did pretty good.
Yeah, Miami is we did kind of call it a little bit. We were like, hey, keep an eye out for Miami. Even Chase admitted, he was like, hey, I'm liking Miami. Miami is looking somewhat better every week, but it's just hard to know as they've won. You have to give it to them. You cannot take away wins. You can't say Miami sucks because they have barely won their games. They should have lost. Well, they didn't lose. Yeah. Miami is, I mean, they're sitting at what, 5 now? Have they moved it to 5?
They are 5 now. They jumped.
That is insane.
Which I find interesting because Texas did beat a ranked team on the road. Granted, yes, they barely won, but still, I found that a little interesting. Miami jumped them, but
yeah,
it
was barely. I think it was only like 1 or 2 votes. It was really close.
The rankings. Obviously, I think top 3 is right. Whatever. Penn State over Ohio State. Penn State doesn't have a loss, but then I think 5, 6, 7. Miami, Texas, Tennessee. I feel like you could really mix those up however you really wish, and I don't think it matters too much.
Hey, just remember, we're only 10 days away. Actually, while you guys are hearing this, not 8 days away from a college football playoff ranking. It's coming out on Election Day, November 5th, which is funny because I know I stay out of politics quite a bit. And, whenever people ask me, like, aren't you concerned about the election? I'm like, man, dude, I'm just concerned who's winning the SEC championship, bro.
Yeah,
like,
for real. So
I just don't even care. That's what football's for. You did see the Texas Tech guy fake a field goal and then flash a MAGA shirt, which no matter what side you're on in politics, I don't like bringing politics into sports. Sports are supposed to be out of politics for me. So I did think it was hilarious. I did laugh. But I don't want people to do that in the future for either side. I really don't. So, I don't like politics being in sports. I like politics as my escape. I like sports as my escape from politics.
Completely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think for the most part it does.
Yeah. I think it'll stay. I think it'll stay like that.
Me and Chase are up on our, soapbox here. I think that's part of the beauty of sports is everything kind of just goes to the side. Just sports, just who you like. You have rivalries based on where you live, where your parents went to school. And I think that's part of the fun of sports. Nothing else matters. It's like,
and I find, especially with college sports, it doesn't seem to segregate people from either side.
No,
with college sports specifically, the demographic of college sports is very diverse.
I think probably 99% of people in a stadium when you're at a college football game probably don't care if the person next to you is a liberal or a conservative or whatever.
They just care if you're wearing blue or red.
Yeah, they just care if you're wearing your team's colors. That's all they care about.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And it's the same.
And that's the thing about it. Wait, you go.
It's the same for every sport, not even just college football. It's the same for every sport.
Yeah, and I will say this is the beauty of college football and college basketball as well. I'll give a shout out to college basketball. The NBA and NFL, there is so much more politics involved. The fan bases, I feel like, and the NBA has let politics basically guide the whole league, and the NFL, honestly, a little bit too. And I feel like college football is just immune to it. I feel like there's like no politics in it, and so it's wonderful. This was not planned. This is just a genuine conversation about two bros who just enjoy college football.
Yeah, no, and I get like the NBA, NFL having commercials to go vote. Like, yes, go vote, go do your right, whatever.
Oh yeah, there's that.
If you're old enough to vote, I completely agree. You should vote, have your opinion, but just keep it out, man. Like my least favorite thing. No offense to athletes, I'm not going to name drop. I'm sure all of you have someone in mind, but I hate when athletes bring in politics into a post-game interview. It's like, dude, no one cares. Just talk about the game.
Yeah, it's like
Talk about the game.
I know that we're gone from the shut up and dribble phase, but to a degree, it's like, all right, bro, like
It's like put the fries in the bag, dog. Like
just like stop.
Talk about how you dropped 30. Like
I think 90% of people, even most athletes, and this is credit, most athletes do not bring it in for a reason because they have no reason to. It's a personal matter, and that's really turned. I was a big NBA fan pre 2020. Now that does have to do with my team not doing as well since then, but a big part of that was politics got so involved into the NBA, and I was like, bro, I hate this. This is not fun. Like, I would rather just like I feel like the focus of the game was not the basketball being played, and so college football is the pure sport here. And I don't even know what got us onto this, but I just feel like I love college football for what it is.
Yeah,
it's just Army, Navy. Everybody loves them. Everyone hates Georgia. Everyone hates Bama. Everyone loves Vandy. We're just unified. The country's unified. I'm sorry. Country's unified.
Sports bring people together, man. That's what I've been saying.
If college football keeps on growing its audience, I think the country will have no
it'll probably solve world peace, honestly.
Yeah, it seriously would. I think just when you see Indiana, the entire country rallies together and just doesn't care about anything but Kurt Signetti. I mean, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't even care who you are. Just fun.
If anyone's fighting, I think you guys just need to sit down and watch this last college game day.
Yeah, I was gonna say college game day. I was gonna say that.
Corso returning to Indiana.
Yeah.
I think that touched the hearts of every college football fan. You guys need to sit down and understand just the lore of college football and just the passion and the love and the hatred behind. I don't even know what I'm saying. I was getting
Going on a pedestal, man. Man, I love it. Anyways, AP poll is messed up. I don't like how a lot of voters vote, but you know what? They can vote however they want. I will be an AP voter one day. You know what? I'll also be a playoff committee member one day, and I'll just change everything. I'll just say these are the Chase Davidson rankings.
Me and Chase are going to both be there, and we're just going to skew everything.
Dude, Ken Palm for basketball would be the Showtime for football. It'll just be the Showtime rankings, and it'll be like more important than the playoff rankings.
By then, the playoff will be like 32 teams to where we'll help you guys create the perfect bracket.
Yeah. We'll just slide Navy in there no matter how bad they are.
Navy.
Like, well, I think the troops deserve a spot. We just dedicate a playoff spot just for the best military academy of that year.
Yeah.
Just a foreign, 4 to 8 Air Force is getting in there.
The 32nd seed goes to the Idaho Potato Bowl winner. I don't care.
Oh, yeah. Give me a MAC team versus like a Mountain West team. That'd be so clutch. Love it.
Well,
anyways, guys,
that's kind of a yap sesh of a podcast. Not gonna lie,
that was solid, man.
About everything. Me and Chase got heated about BYU. We have that like once a week.
I was more concerned about just like rankings in general, bro. Just like I do understand now. I did forget that you are more power heavy.
Thank you.
Which is okay. I think that balances it out.
A lot of my rankings have to do with the current momentum of that team, how you're playing at that game, how that last win looked.
Yeah. I just hate that Notre Dame is getting off scot-free losing to NIU, bro. I just hate it. It's eating me up inside that Notre Dame, people are forgetting that they lost to NIU. I mean, people probably aren't. Notre Dame fans, you know just as well as I do. I mean, you're still upset about that game. If it weren't for that game, you'd be number 3 right now. So, true. I mean, just saying.
Very true.
But you know what, guys? It's been a good episode of Showtime College Football.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Signing off from Show
Time.
College football. Man, week 10 is going to be good. We got a top 5 matchup, boys. We'll see you guys next time.